Welcome back. This is part 5 of Space Rocks, where we make a full and complete game in the Godot Game Engine. In this part, we're going to make our bullets collide with the asteroids and make them break up into smaller asteroids, just like they're supposed to. Alright, let's get started. Alright, we're ready to start making the bullets destroy the asteroids. And to get ready to go, what I've done is I've added an asteroid container, which is just a basic node, to the main scene here. Assigned it to a variable, and when I spawn the asteroids, that's where I'm putting them as children. That's going to help us later when we want to tell if we have destroyed all the asteroids and the player's ready to move on to the next level or whatever. Okay, so let's start with the player bullet. So the player bullet is an area 2D. That means over here in the signals it can detect when other areas enter and exit it, and it can detect when other bodies enter and exit it. So we're going to say body enter. We're going to use the body enter signal, and we're just going to connect that to the player bullet script. And so when this signal fires off, it gives you the body that it detected. And we want, to start with, we want to just delete that body. But really, we only want to delete that body if it's an asteroid. So over on our asteroid script, what we can do is when the asteroid first is created, we can add to group. And we'll just call this asteroids. Groups are just like tags you can assign to objects to track them. Right? So now every asteroid object will have this asteroids tag on it. And in the player bullet here, when we detect a body entering, we can find out if it's one of those groups. So if body get groups has asteroids. Right? So if it has asteroids in its list of groups, then we are going to do two things. We're going to queue free, meaning we're going to delete the bullet that hit that. And right now, I'm just going to print body.getName, just so we can see what is happening. So if I hit run here now, when I fire the bullet, see how the bullet disappeared, and it's printing out the name of that asteroid. Right? And there's a different one, there's a different one. Right? These are the automatically assigned names that Godot gave them when they were instanced. That's fine. You can see it's definitely detecting it, and the bullet was deleted. So we want that asteroid to explode, and that might mean a number of different things. So we're going to say body.explode, and then we're going to define that over in the asteroid itself, that the asteroid should do whatever explode is defined to do. All right, so in explode, or in the asteroid script, we could define our function explode and just say queue free on this. Right? And that would work fine. We could just do that and it would be destroyed. Right? And that's all good, but not really what we want for asteroids, right? We want to spawn smaller ones whenever we hit them with a bullet. So we need to change up a few things. One of the things we need to change here is this init function. When we first instance an asteroid, it might not necessarily be a full-size one that we want to make, right? And so we're passing the size and we're passing the position. We're also going to pass the velocity, because if we're taking a big one and it's been hit, we're going to want to tell the new smaller ones that break off of it what direction to go in and what speed to go in. So I'm going to change this function a little bit to say it's the initial size, the initial position, and the initial velocity, just to keep the names consistent. Okay, and so we have our. Do we? No, we didn't make that variable. So I'm gonna declare a size variable up here. Make things easier to track, and we're going to set size equal to init size, And then for the velocity, we have two choices. Either it's a new large size asteroid spawning at the beginning of the level, in which case we want the random velocity, or it's a new one that we're telling it what velocity we want. So we have two possibilities there, and this is what we want to do if we're picking a random one. So I'm going to take this code and move it down into the init as well. And we're going to say if the init velocity length is greater than 0, then we're just going to use that init vel. It basically means if we pass in a velocity, we'll use it. Otherwise, if we give it a 0 velocity, we're going to use this. And then just like we've been doing, we randomize the rotation speed, figure out what texture, set the shape, and all of that. Okay, now we need to make some changes in our main script. So this code right here instances an asteroid and initializes it, right, and adds it to the container. But we're going to want to do that when we spawn smaller ones too off of the explosions. So I'm going to define a function called spawn asteroid. And this function expects us to tell it what size, position, and velocity we want it to have. And this we're going to put in here. And we're going to just say a.init using the size, position, and velocity. And then our initial ones that we spawn at the beginning of the game, we just say spawn asteroid. Big ones, spawn position. Continue this on the next line. And the speed we want to put for these is just 0, 0. That way we'll randomize, right? And so that'll do the same thing, right? Spawn them at the random spots and randomize the velocity. Now we need to figure out what to do when the bullet hits and we want to spawn two smaller ones. So in our asteroid, when we hit the explode function here, we're going to emit a signal. We'll call that signal explode. And we're going to pass out to the main function. The main scene is what's going to catch this signal. So we're going to tell it what size we were when we exploded, what position we were at when we exploded, and what speed we were going when we exploded. And so we'll just define that signal up here at the top. Signal explode. So now whenever our asteroid is exploded, it's going to send out this signal. And in main, when we spawn an asteroid, we can connect that signal using connect. Oops. And what we want to connect is the explode signal. We want to connect it to a function locally, and we'll call it explode asteroid. And then we just need to define that function. And since we're going to be passing in size, position, and velocity, we need to expect those to be coming. And now we need to figure out what our new sizes are going to be, right? If it was a large asteroid, we needed to split into two medium ones. If it was medium, we needed to split into two small ones, and so on. So I'm going to just declare that in a dictionary up here. And it's call it the break pattern, right? What pattern are the asteroids going to break up into? Okay, if they're big, they're going to go to medium. If they are medium, quotes never cooperate with me. We're going to break up into small. If we are small, we're going to break up into tiny. And if we are tiny, there's nothing left. So we're going to have null there. So there's nothing to come after tiny. That's the end of the chain. So when we explode, we just need to check what size we're going to. So the new size we're going to use is break pattern, whatever size we currently are. And so now we'll know what size we want to be. If new size, so if it wasn't tiny so that we got null, then we want to spawn 2 new ones. But when we spawn these 2 new ones, we don't want to spawn them at the same position. If we do, then they'll be overlapping, and our asteroids are set to be kinematic body 2Ds, and they're supposed to collide off of each other, treat each other as solid bodies. And if 2 solid bodies are overlapping, they're inside of each other, then the collision resolution is going to be broken, and we will get asteroids flying off at crazy speeds and weird things like that. So we want to make sure we spawn them next to each other, and we want to spawn them with different velocities, going in ideally in opposite directions, right? Like they exploded outwards from the destruction of the big one. And so the nicest way that I think we can do that is when the bullet hits and it tells the body to explode, we're going to pass in the velocity that the bullet was going. And actually, I don't care about the velocity. I really care about the direction. So I'm going to normalize it. So that way I know what direction I was hit from, and I can make the new ones fly out in a perpendicular direction from that. Okay, so that means when we explode, we're passing in the velocity. So on the asteroid, when we explode, we're going to get whatever the thing that hit us was doing, right? So we'll call it the hit velocity, and we will pass that in as well when we emit the signal. So here we're going to get, on main, we're going to get the hit velocity as well. So if we are spawning 2 new ones, then I'm going to have an offset of -1 or 1. This is going to make them do the opposite directions, right? I'll multiply the velocity by these numbers, or the position by these numbers, and that way they will be opposite. So the new position we want for our asteroid is whatever position the parent one was, plus the hit vel tangent. And what that does is it gives you a perpendicular vector. Okay, I'm going to clamp that to a length of 25. Right, so it moves 25 pixels away from that center spot, multiplied by offset, which is going to be +1 or -1, right? So they'll be shifted in opposite directions. So they'll each spawn across from each other. And then the new velocity we want to use is whatever velocity we were going. So if the big asteroid was moving to the right, the smaller ones that fly off of it will move to the right as well. But they're also going to have a tangent to the hit velocity times offset, so that they will fly in opposite directions. Right? And then we just want to spawn asteroid using the new size, the new position, and the new velocity. And that should look great. So let's try it out. Here we go. There's 2 smaller ones flying off. Very good. Now, if I hit a bunch of them, we might see if I can get it to happen. Right, you're gonna have a lot of little asteroids flying around, and occasionally some of the collisions are going to lead to some of these tiny ones moving extremely fast. Faster than we want. Yeah, there we go, right? Faster than we want them to. And so what we do to fix that is we should just set we're just going to set a maximum speed on the asteroids here. Vel equals vel.clamped 300. Right? That way we don't have anything bigger than that. And that'll get rid of that problem. Okay, so now what we can do is, let's say we only spawn one because we're on level 1. Then we can set process to true on our main, and in the process function we can just say that if the asteroid container get child count is equal to 0, that means we've destroyed all the asteroids, right? So we can spawn some more. Right, we just do this again. I'm just going to do this again for now, and we'll make it fancier later when we start having levels and things. But that way, if we just have one asteroid on the first level, then as we clear the screen and that asteroid container is empty, we will spawn 2 new ones, right? Okay, so we'll pretty that up later as well. And the last thing we can do here to pretty up our main scene is we're going to add a sprite. Put it at the top here and just call this the background. And the texture we're going to use is this starfield.png. And see, we don't want it to be centered, and we need it to be stretched a little bit to fit our game window. So I'm going to scale this up about a little bit more, I think 30%. There we go. So that we just have a nicer looking background for our game here. All right, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.